I'll start with, I think at least 4 of you guys have worked with Yorgos before. Tell us a little bit for the veterans first, and then I'll go back to you, Torsten. What keeps you coming back to the bizarre words of Yorgos Lanthimos?
I think Yorgos likes to collect a troupe of people that he trusts and enjoys to work with, and it's always a joy and a pleasure to get the call to come back, and they're always amazing films. So very, very happy to do them, and I'm sure everybody would agree.
Another question for you. At what point in the process do you come in? When does Yorgos invite you to join? Is it the screenplay once it's done? Is it even before that?
Well, for me, we were working all the time, so he's gone, I've got another film coming up. Do you want to have a chat about that? And we were making Kinds of Kindness, I think, when there was rumblings of Bugonia and the idea of it. And it's really nice because it's sort of, you don't get I don't think I read the script straight away, and I'd hear sort of bits and bobs from Yorgos what it was about, and then you get the script, and it'd be from there in all very exciting to kind of get working on it. But that's what I heard anyway. I don't know about you guys. Jerskin has a good chat about that, don't you?
I'm not allowed to have the same privileges as some of the other craftspeople, so I wasn't allowed to look at the script and was kept outside of all the production meetings for the year or two beforehand, I think, which made me kind of paranoid. It was really lovely, though. I mean, going back to the earlier thing, working with Yorgos, over the last few years, I've met more and more people who write music for films, and I hear stories about, producers telling them they have to change certain things, or being given temp music or references or instructions as to how to do it, which sounds horrible. And I realize I'm extremely lucky that Yorgos basically just allows me to write very, very freely with very little prompting and absolutely no backseat driving or anything like that. So that's really fantastic. And for this one, it was unusual, and I think it seems more challenging not to have a script to write a score for a film than it actually is. I think I found it quite liberating. And again, this is, down to the way Yorgos chooses to direct.
And if you're lucky to get the script, you have a 72-hour limit, and then a bomb goes off, and you have to beg to either memorize it really quickly, or maybe they'll send you another one. So, and of course, if you're invited back into Yorgos's world, or even invited once, it's an amazing journey that is irresistible with this group.
And you want to go, John or Torsten? What was the experience like?
Well, I was fortunate enough that I've worked with Emily on a few features, so I kind of that what really helped coming in, Emily saying hey, Yorgos, you should meet with Torsten, and then just that just helped me to get in, and we know each other for a long, long time, so that kind of was really easy for me to come in. But yeah, it's true, you get the script for 24 hours, you have to read it quickly, and then he wants to talk about it, and it's expired, and then you have to go back in, and you're like, oh my God, where are all my notes for this? So, but it's really welcoming, and it was great.
And Johnny, did your screenplay go off?
Sorry.
Did your screenplay explode after 24 hours?
Oh, it did, yeah, pretty much. I think, no, my first involvement on the project was, I read the script, sort of early on, but the first time I actually did any work was when Emily texted me, and she was like, yo, we're shooting the alien scene at the end of the movie in 2 weeks. What am I saying? And I was like, well, isn't that the scriptwriter job? And she said, no, Yorgos says you're the sound designer. That's sound design. But and I was on holiday with the family and had to come up with an alien language in 3 days. So that was when I started working on it. And to your other question, working with Yorgos, I've done 6 films with him now. I've been very blessed. And I think he just really likes to gather a family of people who really enjoy each other's company and have the respect from everyone and each other in order to, have the space to do your job. And he trusts you to get on with that. So, yeah.
We have to know more about this alien language. What was the process for its creation?
I was slightly bitter about having to do it at short notice. And so my main goal was to make Emily have tongue twisters to say. and to make it reasonably complex. No, actually it was to try and formulate something that felt, obviously unique and took you somewhere else, and you felt that it was not derivative. But the complexity of it was actually knowing that at some point I'd be sitting here having to explain that, that there were verbs and adjectives and nouns within all that, and it had a structure. So I couldn't just make it up.
Wow. Robbie, can you talk about VistaVision? This seems to be the year of VistaVision. At what point did you guys decide that, this movie required that format?
We wanted to make this one on VistaVision from an early stage, like right from the beginning, I think, because we'd done it on Poor Things. We'd shot on VistaVision, and we did a bit more research, a bit more testing on it. And Johnnie came in when we were testing to see if because they're very noisy cameras, that was the main reason. Yorgos likes to do sync sound and not do ADR. So that was a big hurdle to jump over, and we it's also like, a big camera as well. So it's there's a lot. It's not your normal sort of straightforward sort of film camera. So we just did tests, and we really loved the footage of it, and it's just by coincidence really that other films have now started coming out, have been shot on it. It wasn't that any of us were all in the loop that everybody else was making a VistaVision film. So I'm really pleased we got to make it innocently, because like if somebody was making a film of VistaVision now and came to me and asked me, I'd probably give them all the like, well, this is a problem, that is a problem, but like I'd be nervous more, and not knowing was great because we just went straight in there and we kind of figured out the problems as we were filming. And there's some interesting things in the film actually, where I don't know if you've noticed it, when Donnie's about to shoot, or like he's calling Emily an alien filth, the camera has this weird judder on it, and that was a problem with the camera that was occurring a lot in the film, and we're like, oh my god, it's done it again. And fair dues to Yorgos, he decided to kind of like, he liked it in the edit, and we decided to kind of keep it as a affectation. So, a happy mistake became a visual sort of bit of drama. And yeah, it's a brilliant format. It's an old format. There's only like 10 cameras in the world. So now that it's really popular, I don't know how everybody's going to get a camera, but if you're lucky enough to get one, they are, even though a bit of a pain in the neck, they're amazing at the results you get. So yeah.
Johnny, you want to talk about the difficulty of dealing with the sound
Johnny
of the camera?
Johnny has his own name for it.
Yeah. I call it the Vista volume. It's pretty noisy.
And that's the quiet one.
Yeah, God. Yorgos and Robbie invited me down to Panavision to come and sort of say, yes, I do believe that this is not so noisy that I recommend you don't use it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And because Yorgos absolutely, this is a film with a very noisy camera, and there is no ADR in it, which is quite a sort of a feat of everyone's effort. But yeah, and I said, yeah, it doesn't seem too bad. Got the software out, did what I could. And that was in a big room at Panavision. And then 6 months later, was it? We were on the film set. And the film set was a much smaller box, in the kitchen. The walls of the cupboards were right here and here. And that, every time sound reflects off a surface, it doubles in volume. And so, it became extremely problematic. And I was like, well, can't tell Robbie he can't use it now. He looks so happy. But
yeah, you
and I thought to myself, well, I'll just put lots of noisy clanging pipes in everywhere, and there's bound to be like a fan that we can pretend goes in post-production. We would supplement noise that would hide it. And then when I played Yorgos this idea, he was like, no, it's a very quiet house. We can't have that stuff going on. And I was like, oh, holy cow. Originally, he told me it was going to be a sci-fi movie before I read the script. So I made all these like spaceship noises and like the sounds of like the bridge of the hum of the bridge of a spaceship. And that's predominantly what you hear in the basement because I didn't want to waste them, But but it's it is a good noisy camera.
Torsten, can you talk about the transformation that Emma's character goes through in the film? The makeup that starts out as a CEO, and then she transforms into this being that's covered in anti-alien lotion. I think it's what it's called in the film.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like an antihistamine lotion so that she can talk to her people or communicate to her people. That's the reason why she has to get shaved immediately. So that was a tricky night, shaving it, because it's just a minute in the movie, but you do shoot it all night. And how to map it out and how to like storyboard it out that we can have footage for a whole night, but then it will look like 30 seconds. So that was kind of an intense night for my department on like how to reshoot and how to get back in and how to come from a different angle. And then the white lotion is also like you know, you see it just a few times, but also like she has that white lotion on quite some time, and finding a formula that looks right, that makes Yorgos happy, but also like that Emily is not breaking out from. So that's a really tricky part, that you have to make sure like your actor doesn't, you know, get a skin rash from whatever lotion you put on for like 7, 8, 9, 10 days. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, when she finally showered, I was safe in terms of that. And then, you know, he doesn't tell you that before. Like, I thought, like, there's going to be just a little bit of blood splatter on her. and, you know, and he goes, like, Torsten, what do you use for brain? And I'm just like, well, it's banana because it has to be body safe. And then he keeps yelling out, more banana, more banana. And you're just like, smushing banana and blood together and throwing it on her. And then you're ending like in a full-on Carrie moment that you didn't see coming. But those are the things where, you know, he just makes you a better artist, and you just go with it and you just follow the lead, you know?
Did he have a clear picture of what you wanted Emma to look like with the lotion, the color? And
I think it's definitely like their relationship on trying to like make it as uncomfortable as possible, and he was really for Emily, and then all, like a personal thing that those two have, and then also just like to stretch everyone. Do you know what I mean? To be better and more, and you know, like kind of like getting his way, like what his vision originally was. Like even though like a lot of stuff was scripted, but then it just keeps coming on what he needs.
More banana.
Exactly.
Jennifer, I want to talk to you about the Andromedans and their attires. Once we meet them, once we are for sure certain that they exist, what was that, you know, the references or the conversations you had with Yorgos about those designs?
I started working, as Robbie said, that we had done Kinds of Kindness together, and I heard from Yorgos in 2023. We made the movie in 2024, and we just had a casual conversation. Here's the script, read this. And I had realized I had actually seen the movie, the original Korean version, before I had read the script. So I had some ideas about what it would be, but was really excited to read Will's version and Yorgos' idea of what might be. And he said 3 words, maybe 3 or 4, something like, normal, like what are aliens? And he said normal, something normal, and it has to be funny. Have a swing at it. And so I spent maybe 4 months at least just culling and gathering a large trove of images. And I broke those down by what are communal human activities, what are really banal activities that are so commonplace that they become very familiar and they're funny. And so I had groups of bodybuilders and groups of vacationers and holiday makers and groups of stockbrokers and just all these sort of like rabid, fanatical groups that were into their thing. And I landed on knitting. And we kind of went back and forth. Like even at Panavision, we were still talking about bodybuilders under the table. Yeah.
Bodybuilders.
But then I realized, well, that's not fun for me, and that's a lot of work for you, and we need to streamline this. So the knitting kind of turned into then this whole thing with James Price, the production designer, and I kind of, he went into the set design, and then from his kind of uterine fallopian tube design. Bioluminescent jellyfish. I went into my ideas about femininity and about, the getting back to the kind of human female activities and sort of gathering together and making this space for, like they're knitting from things that are born out of the body or they're grown in some kind of space lab. And so that material, if anyone is curious what that is, it's crinoline, which is horsehair, which is what you use for millinery. And we had a factory in Switzerland. For instance, Michelle's costume is, I think it's almost 2 miles long.
Jeez.
And it's all macrame. So we had enough tubing made that was, hers is, I think she's like 1,700 meters about. And no, it's not. What's heavy is the actual suit underneath that holds it all together and the fabric that holds it. That's what's heavy. Would you like to talk about wearing the suit?
Oh, yeah. The suit was heavy. Also, I think making something that bizarre and complex on, such short notice, the amount of internal architecture obviously wasn't designed for it to be worn for several days in a row. So my back kind of slightly gave out halfway through. I think we had at least one extra who, really struggled with it. Also, they were very absorbent, I think, because of the material used. So when we had to wade through the gloop, the legs would absorb the water. And by the end, we had, just off camera, I think, there's a shot near the end where we're leaving the pond. Just off camera, there are a few assistants dragging our legs out of the water because they become too heavy to actually walk.
I have a photo of you standing next to the monitor, and it looks like you're urinating blood.
Yeah,
You're just oozing.
I mean, that was separate. That was happening anyway. Yeah. But, they were really. It was a very, very unusual day for clothing and absorbing liquids. So thank you for that experience.
And Michelle's costume was made out of wire cage. So hers was actually really comfortable. I mean, she's a queen, so.
Jerskin, how did you end up playing a part? Was that always a plan, or did George just come to you and ask you to double duty?
You've been in every film, haven't you? That you've worked on. You've had a starring role. Yeah,
I mean, I just generally do what Yorgos tells me to do. I have very little professional choice otherwise at this point. This is the first film. I had cameos in Poor Things and Kinds of Kindness. This is the first time I've had a non-musical cameo. I don't think there were any scenes Yorgos could think of that benefited it, apart from maybe being one of the dead guys at the end. So, yeah, that was a new experience, technically, acting for the first-ish time. But yeah, whatever he wants me to do, I just turn up.
He has lines as he talks to Michelle, the queen, and he's our set photographer. He's Yorgos's set photographer for many movies.
Yeah, he struggled in that suit, and his English isn't maybe so good anyway, or
it wasn't in English.
I know,
it was in Johnnie.
But to say it in English would be difficult for Chima, so he had to learn. We had the what are they called? Those cue cards or dumb cards and then. Because he was reading that all the time, Yorgos was going, yeah, but you can learn it. You could say that, Jima. And then he took the cards away, and Jima was able to say it pretty good without the cards, and it was the best performance of the lot, And then when he got out, he fainted. Bless him, he was so exhausted. He's sort of
I think what I gather is that you need to be ready for anything on a Yorgos set to create an alien language or to play one of the aliens. That's fascinating. Jerskin, can you talk about how do you actually compose the score if you don't get the screenplay? What do you start with? What was the conversations if he doesn't want to let you see the screenplay?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's not, I think it sounds, in honesty, I think at this point it's said a lot, you don't read the script and it's just 3 words, and it sounds to me, it's starting to sound a little sensationalist. I'm starting to be a bit, worried about saying it over and over and like showing with it. What I usually do anyway, like I come from very kind of like nerdy academic family, and I've never been a particularly good student, but I know how to do research, and I find that there's something from the act and the more, esoteric stuff and digging in more unusual directions from whatever source. For some reason, I find that really, really fertile, and there's stuff from that which it's not like I'm looking for like music ideas or sound ideas, just that there's some kind of black box in the middle. So just to be given 3 words which are in decreasing gradients of researchability was quite a fun thing for that like part of my how I work. So yeah, it wasn't too different to doing research on medical stuff for Poor Things or various other stuff for Kinds of Kindness. It was fine, basically. I think it turned out okay. One other aspect as well is that there are subtleties to how Yorgos does this sort of thing. We did discuss that he thought it'd be cool to have a big orchestra. Yorgos knows my ego well enough that if he was to give me a 90-piece orchestra, I wouldn't be doing anything like particularly subtle with it. So like I think if he wanted something extremely melodramatic and unnecessarily loud, that's all he needed to do, really.
That's what we got.
Robbie, can you talk about, the contrast between shooting, the best part of the film and then the Andromeda sequences near the end and the dead body sequences, those sort of tableaus at the end?
Sure, yeah. Well, it was, most of the film we shot was in the basement, so it was quite a relief to get to the spaceship, but then when we got to the spaceship, it was full of gloop, and the camera basically stayed in the gloop all the time. So it was kind of, it was a bittersweet sort of change because we'd been so kind of conditioned in this basement sort of room that was quite small that you do get used to that, and at the same time are wishing to get out of there. And then when you get out, you went to the spaceship, so that was a bit weird. And we actually had a second unit director and camera DP to shoot because our schedule was so full up that we couldn't actually. Yorgos had decided he couldn't put his full concentration on doing the other scenes at the end, so he did something that he hasn't done before, I think, which was to get a director, a really great director called Daniel Wolf, to come in to shoot all those sequences over a 3-day period. While we were filming concurrently. So they were off filming and we'd get like stills up for what they were shooting and go, yeah, do this a bit or do that a bit. But generally they were left to their own devices to come. Well, Yorgos and Daniel had talked about the scenarios that they were going to maybe shoot, and then, they went off and they shot dead people. And I think the footage is amazing from that. And, full credit to them for a very, 3 days isn't very long to do. To travel the globe, fully filming dead people. We did some as well at the end. We went to Greece to shoot some of the sequences, so not all of them are Daniel's, but majority of them are.
Amazing. Before we wrap, I wanted to ask Torsten about the Andromedans and creating their look.
Well, like the note was normal. And then we just started casting, and I was then involved in casting the people. And then we wanted to have all ages, all, just like how we all are. We are all so different. And then we all know from like Poor Things, Yorgos loves hair. So we started with like a lot of hair. I didn't thought it was going to be that long. And then it got longer, like from like 12 inches to 14 to 24. And then we ended up with all these wigs that are like 36 inches. Yours was 42 inches long. And it just got, longer and more. And in order to balance the massive costumes, you needed to have some visibility of the hair. And I wanted it to be like as natural looking as possible. So that's why we had like gray curly hair in a natural state, or a red head wavy, or like that's why the hair just grew. And for the skin, we played in the beginning with different skin tones and different shines, but it felt with the cast and the normal aspect, we just landed. with the variety of what they were all. That they will all be, like, you know.
The differences. Yeah. Well, thank you all for taking us to space on this journey. Thank you all for being here. And thank you, AFI, for having us. Thank you.